Thank you again for everyone for coming. Hope you've all enjoyed your meatballs. We're going to have this chat, and we're going to have more meatballs. So hope you're still hungry, because we have lots of meatballs to give away. We did think there will be 50 people here, but because of snow and whatever, I have way too many meatballs, and I'm not taking them home. All right. Save some for Jupiter. She wants to take some home. All right. So, yeah, resolution. What's your resolution? Hi, so I'm Quang, also known as QuangDX. I'm one half of Asobi Tech, along with my brother. He does all the artwork, and I do the rest of the stuff. We're currently working on a game called Mau Mau Castle. You're a flying cat dragon on a fantasy adventure back home to the castle, collecting rainbows and fun stuff like that. I'm going to talk about resolutions. Back when I still started, the devices had a set resolution. You know, everyone who owned a Spectrum would have a resolution of 256 pixels by 192, 8 whole colors, 2 brightnesses, 2 colors in each 8x8 block. My Atari ST had 320 by 200, 16 whole colors from palette of 512. Stuff in PC, back in the early days in DOS, you would use mode hex 13, and that's 320 by 200, 256 colors, a choice of 262,000 and thereabouts. The Game Boy, wonderful machine it is. It was 160 pixels by 144 pixels, 4 shades of gray, green, puke, you know, call it what you will. And the early mobile devices like the Windows Mobile device had was 320 by 240. And the T-Mobile G1 and the iPhone came out at 320 and 480. These are all standard resolutions. You knew where you stood. You made a game, this is the resolution you made it at. This I borrowed from a different developer website. I don't know where. And it shows the current resolutions and aspect ratios that are currently used by devices. It's a whole range of stuff. So if you open this up, there's a ton of more you open these up. But currently at the moment, 26% use a resolution of 1280 by 720. Which is a ratio, and 68% people use 16 by 9 ratio screens. So why is this a problem? Can anyone guess?
It's hard to plan for all of them.
Yeah. If your game is designed for one specific resolution, or aspect ratio, you switch to another one, it will look like crap. It will either be stretched. I don't know if you guys ever remembered. You could get TV programs in stretched 4x3, and you press a button and you shrink it down. You get the black bars on top and bottom. It's kind of how it should look, 16 by 9. All right, so aspect ratios, and you get whole black bars. These slides are created in a 4x3 ratio, actually. Hence, these black bars either side of the screen. Which, to be honest, probably isn't a problem for most people if I hadn't pointed that out. But now I've pointed that out, it's glaringly obvious this doesn't fill the whole screen. So 4x3 looks like a 320 by 240 display. 320 wide width in 16 by 9 is 180, and in 16 by 10 it's 200. The standard resolution on most TVs now is 1920 by 1080, which is known as Full HD. In a 4x3 ratio, that would have been 1920 by 1440. There's no TVs that do that. There's a few 16 by 10 monitors and computers, including this one included. It does 920 by 1200, which is 16 by 10. I'm gonna explain how ways to circumnavigate these issues of different devices with different size screens. It's building on the work from Mark Alexander, who's from Nocturne Games, and John Pearson, also known as Pixelated Pope. You should look them up. They're smart cookies, really smart. All right, so this is my game, Mau Mau Castle. Which is a resolution of 320 by 200. You can see this black bar at top and bottom of it. This is roughly a square screen. Because it's running HTML5, I can change the size of the browser. Depending on the size of your browser window, it will put black bars either top or bottom or left or right. People don't use a standard size screen, so you get black bars. I'm okay with this. I don't mind the black bars because I feel the way that my game works, because it's into the screen game, it draws your eyes inwards, and the outside the screen kind of fades out. So the easiest option, obviously, is to use black bars. to mask out the areas you don't want and keep the aspect ratio you want. If the game filled with black bars, it would be really stretched, really wide, and look terrible. All right, so one of the options you could do, instead of using black bars, is use a border. So take the border, render the border first, render the game first and the border on top of that, or each way around, depending on this. This is obviously because it's a curved screen, like an old screen CRT. I've rendered the game first, and you rendered the screen on top of that. And that will mask out whatever. So I don't know what resolution that probably looks like, maybe 21 by 9. It's quite a wide screen. And I would have a lot of black bordering, but that's quite nice on a CRT, because that's how I imagine my game should have been back in the day. The other option is if you're working in landscape. So our game will run in portrait and landscape. In landscape, normally it will show black bars, but you can just put a nice background. The game is reminiscent of grass and a sky, so I took a lovely picture there, just whacked it behind the screen. It fills the border, and it just extends it in and just fills the device very nicely there. So again, just using another border to fill the space. For all the artists of you in here, I know how much annoying dead space is. If you take photographs and there's a big empty space, it feels quite jarring. So try and fill the space as much as you can. But as I said, because of the way my game plays, I'm not too bothered about filling it with less colors, because the eyes are drawn into the middle anyway. All right, so that's the cut down version of how to fill different size screens. There's a longer version of it, but because of the way talk stuff turned up, I've shortened it a lot. The other thing I want to talk about is screen shake. One of my favorite things ever. Actually, no, screen shake's awesome. You should have some. All right, so I'm gonna switch over to GameMaker and show you a couple of ways of doing screen shake. So, how many people are familiar with GameMaker? So, a good majority of you. How many are familiar with screen shake?
As a concept?
As a concept, yeah. Just, you know what screen shake is. You've experienced it in various games, even in movies. There's a lot of movies as well. All right. So this is semi-technical. If there's anything you don't understand, please shout at me, and I'll try and break it down a bit further. But it's not that complicated. I've really glossed over this quite a lot. So what you're going to see is the Sobertech ident logo, which is two paths of the logo come smashing together. They will shake and separate and do a smaller shake. This is a basic shake where you take the camera viewpoint and you take a value of how strong you want to shake, and you shake it randomly by that much for that period of time. This might be a bit loud. So you see that it'll come in, it'll hit a shake, and a smaller shake there. That's the basic shake. It's all right, but we can do better. All right, shh, can be quiet about that. Shh. All right. I put Mau Mau in there for reference. Mau was not normally there. All right. So we're going to take the object that has the logo and change a few values around. So one of the things that we sense as we're humans is natural curves. In nature, things aren't very on and off. I don't know if you ever noticed traffic lights as they are. When they come on and come off, they fade in and fade out. There's a few traffic lights around that are just LED lights. I know there's some in Elephant Castle and a few other places. But when they come on and they come off, it's very abrupt. And it doesn't feel right because it's on then off. And what you saw there was it going from 0 screen shake to a value of 8, intensity of 8, and then the second screen shake, intensity of 4. So it's going from 0 to 8 and back, and then to 4 and back. And it's almost jarring. It's fine, but when you point it out, it's quite jarring. It's like I didn't notice the traffic lights until I went from analog traffic lights to the LED traffic lights in the next set, and you notice a big difference on how they feel. So to make it feel better, what we're going to do is we're going to fade out the screen shake. So if I ask for an intensity of 8, so it's 8 pixels movement, I'm going to fade it into 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, and 3, 2, 1. And it will feel that much better. Gonna do this over here. Hopefully I can. Live coding. I wouldn't recommend it. So not the intensity. We're gonna do it through screen shake itself. All right. Crossing my fingers. This should now go from 0 to an 8, then down to back to 0 in a nice smooth movement. Tell me if you can tell the difference.
Can't hear it.
Well, you can't hear it, but so that's a basic curve going down by 1 screen shake per frame, which is quite a linear movement. So you put a logarithmic curve in it, so it curves in and it makes it much even smoother, even more natural. I don't know if people are familiar with the phrase tweening. So tweening is we move from one point to another point, either in a smooth curve or a straight line. So usually, as I said, nature moves not in straight lines; it moves in curves. You would accelerate from slow to fast, and back to slow again. And there's different ways of doing curves. You can even go past and come back again. There are a bunch of wonderful extensions in the marketplace for tweening. There's some free ones and some paid ones. Go to the marketplace, check them out, and you give it a value, and then beginning value and an end value, and then you can scroll through the numbers, and it will give you a beautiful curve. And it can feel very, very, very natural. All right. So the other thing we can do to make this even better, which originally I wasn't a fan of, because when we talked about doing this with my brother, who does all the art for the games, he really wanted me to do this for the screen shake, and it's called a chromatic aberration. It's when you shake the screen, but you split the colors. About a year or two ago, it was all the rage. Everyone was doing it. Music videos, games. This is why I didn't want it in the game, because everyone was doing it. And I like to be contrary. But to be honest, now we've put it in, it is way better. All right, so hopefully I get this right. I'm going to take out this part and this part. If anyone wants to go through the code later on, I'm more than welcome to go through it. I wasn't going to go through it today, but it's for people who don't know GameMaker, it can be a bit overwhelming. But basically, through the draw event, you draw what's on the screen, but then I take what's on the screen, and in the draw GUI event, which is the layer on top of that, I redraw it 3 times in 3 different colors. For those of you who know GameMaker will probably understand that. Those who don't, again, if you want me to talk about it later, I'm more than happy to. So let me comment this code back in. Live coding. Don't try this at home, kids. So you can see here what happens is the layer on top of the display, I black it out, then take the image from the original layer, put it through a red filter, a line which is green and blue filter, and then put them in different random places depending on how much screen shake there is. So you should now Cross your fingers. When I run this, see a chromatic aberration in the logo. And I guess it's a personal preference, but that is, in my opinion, better than it was before. Going back to just the generic together. Actually, you know, I should have done it without the screen shake at all completely first. And then you can see actually the difference in that. So if we take out all the screen shakes, let's do this. So I should kill the screen shake. All right. You can see how flat that is now. It loses all sense of impact. It makes me quite sad, actually. All right, we get it. And we put this back. And one last time. I'm sure there's a keyboard shortcut for this, but I don't use them. Way more nice. So yeah, that's screen shake. Hopefully that gives you a few ideas about using the screen shake and using effects to add more impact to your game. I don't know if you guys know the indie team Vlambeer. They are like the masters of screen shake. They're well known for their screen shake. If you've ever played a game called Downwell, it's a great game as well. Also made in Game Maker. Uses screen shake really well. So yeah, I've been Quang from Sobtech, the Science of Play. We're on the internets, all the social medias, on the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Facebooks. You can follow us on that. If you have any questions, you can ask them now or later. Does anyone have any questions? Hello?
What do you think about rotational screen shakes?
Rotational screen shakes. Personally, I'm not a fan. So I'm not a fan of rotational screen shakes. So this is where you take the screen and rather than changing the X and Y position, you change the angle of it. Mainly I'm not a fan because I make games in a really low resolution. Usually 320 by 200, or even lower on a Game Boy, 160 by 144. If you jolt the whole screen by a pixel angle, it really messes with the picture. And I feel this sort of rolling screen shake doesn't feel as natural. It's more akin to being in the plane and you're tilting the plane left and right rather than having an earthquake, which is what, for me, screen shake is, you know, like having Godzilla step through a city, you got a more of an XY screen shake rather than a rotational screen shake. The only time I would see a rotational screen shake if I'm on a boat, or on a plane. So, yeah, you know, planes. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of rotational screen shake. I've seen it. I tried it a couple of times, but it never set right with me. Any other questions? Hello?
What do you think of restricting the screen shake to objects? I guess in Game Maker 2 you do it with layers, but like groups of objects instead. So you can have focus on one object by shaking everything without.
Yeah, so you're asking them what I feel about screen shake where it's just specific objects.
Yeah,
rather than the whole screen. Yeah, I use it quite a lot actually. So people don't read writing in your games. People focus on what's happening. One way to people are quite T-Rexes. They only notice things when they're moving. So if you want them to notice a piece of text, shake it about a bit, wave it about, and it's great for that. I use screen shake on a lot of things. We made a 3-match puzzler a while back, and when you get a combo, every single tile will have its own shake value and its own fade off. So it would all be quite messy and then slowly fade in together, but all at different times. And it gives a much more natural feel. So yeah, shake everything. It's great. It adds more effect to things. Life isn't still. Even though I'm standing here technically still, I'm not actually still. There are minute movements I'm doing, and that's because the world we live in is all curves. Great question. Anyone else? Hello? Shall we take a look at that? Let's take a look at horizontal screen shake only. Yeah, it works kind of well. So we probably want to take this code, live coding. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take this. There's 3 colors. And we're going to take away. So you want the horizontal, yeah?
Ideally horizontal for the first motion and the diagonal for the second.
Well, that will take a little bit more coding, but for now we're going to do the horizontal. So I've killed the vertical movement there, and all we got is a random horizontal movement. Let's see how that looks. It's not too bad. But it does feel very lefty-righty. Again, yeah, very possibly, yeah. Again, it's all comes as a personal preference. I think for me, the effect I'm looking for is that Godzilla footstep screen shake and the impact there. By restricting the movement in one axis, you get a very different feel. And if that's the feel you're looking for, then great, perfect. But yeah, that's a wonderful test. I've never tried that before. Hi. Actually, if I show, going back to train movement and harmonics and things like that. Let me load up Mau Mau. Mau Mau Castle. All right, so in the title screen and through the whole game, I have a figure 8 movement for everything, and that's the breath of the game, as it were, and that's how the game breathes. And all the text, all the objects move in this lovely figure 8 motion. So you can see that in here, and actually the cat and the castle are also moving the figure 8, but only in the vertical movement rather than the left and right. So the values I'm picking for the cat and the castle are from that as well. You can see Mau Mau's butt is moving in a little figure 8. He's moving the figure 8. That's his head. The text is moving the figure 8. The paw is see what I did up there? That's the pause button. That's the pause. Unfortunately, that's not my joke. I stole that from the Lemmings game. They had that for me. I would love to have taken credit for that, but it's not mine. And same with the number of rainbows you have. It's locked to the vertical movement. So you'll see the text come in, get ready. The movement the text comes in, that should catch your eye to help you read it. People still don't read it. So I am planning to remove all the text completely and replace it with icons and stuff like that, because people don't read stuff. But yeah, that come back to the train movement. If you're getting the right breathing, a train, I would agree, yeah. If you're using a full screen shake for the movement of a train, that wouldn't feel quite right. It's more of a rhythmic pattern. As long as it's going at a steady pace, it's finding the the harmonics and the breathing of the thing you're trying to simulate. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, I'm QuangDX. That's been my talk. Thank you very much.